I'm not sure when I'll actually get this video posted thanks to China holding me up a bit, but what we have here is the first snowfall of the season, so I'd say it's time to get the motorcycles winterized. Try to hold on to the summer as long as I can. Typically I ride till November or so, and then I usually start riding again in March. So I try to stretch it out as long as I possibly can. What we're going to do for all the bikes is we're going to take out the batteries, turn off fuel for the bikes that are carbureted, fill the fuel tanks up, and then cover openings such as exhaust pipes so that critters don't find their way into the insides of your bikes and make gross little rodent houses. Alright, battery cover is off, so now it's time to remove the battery. There's an Allen bolt here at the top. Loosen that, twist it all the way out, and now this sort of swings open. Now we've got to detach the battery from the battery leads, so you get that loose. Alright, that one's finally out. Disconnect the lead. Repeat the process for the positive lead. Screws are out. So now you kind of ease this guy and coax him out of his little cradle holding place, and there we go. Once you have the battery out, make sure to put the nuts and screws right back in, otherwise it's likely that you'll lose them, and that's always a pain. So put those guys there, and then screw these guys back into place, like so. Now you want to kind of reassemble your battery area, put the leads back in, put your battery cradle back into place and put that bolt in, put your cover back on, make sure you put this bottom bolt back in place. You really don't want to lose any of these pieces. Alright, so battery is all set on the Shadow now. Next step is turning off fuel, which is as simple as this. You turn it to off, and that's that. Okay, next step is filling up the fuel tank with fuel. Try to get it as full as you can. Alright, he's as full as he can safely get. And actually, before we finish up with the fuel, there's one other thing we want to do. We want to put fuel stabilizer in it. Look up the specifications for your bike in terms of fuel tank size, and then prepare the necessary amount of fuel stabilizer. Pour it on in. Fuel cap back on. Now it's on to covering any openings. The only real openings, or at least blatant ones on this bike, are the exhaust tips. What I do is I just put some tape of some kind around the opening so that mice or chipmunks or whatever the heck else is crawling around don't find their way up and into your exhaust. And just repeat for any other openings. That pretty much does it for the Shadow. There is a little air box sort of space in here, but it's not as open of a space, so it's not as big of a deal on this bike. But last step, hitting the kill switch, just for good measure. So to get the battery out of the SV, you gotta remove these two side panels right here. Take this out, put the bolt somewhere safe, and then you just kind of ease this thing out with some gentle pulling. There we go. Then repeat on the other side. Alright, so the other side is now off. So next step is getting the seat off, which we do with these bolts right here. There's one. Repeat on the other side. And now, once you do both sides, you're able to take this guy right off. And now look at that, we've got access to the battery. We're going to do the same thing we did before. Unscrew the black first, move the lead aside, put your screw or your bolt back in, and now we move the red lead here. Move the lead aside, put your bolt screw thing back in place, and now with some awkward gripping and a bit of struggling, you pull the battery out. Now if you take a second to notice, you'll see that the battery cavity is quite a perfect little place for a rodent or whatnot to make a house. So what I do during the winter is I stuff this full of something just to hopefully deter any house-making activities during storage. I'm a little short on garage supplies right now, so I'm gonna use some ping pong balls and try to make it uninviting. It's better than a t-shirt or something like that because t-shirts make a nice cozy little place. So we'll give that a shot for now. Now it's time for my least favorite part about the SV, which is that in order to get to the air box, you gotta take the tank off. There we go, it is off. Because my garage is in winter storage mode, I don't really have any good places to work on stuff currently. But basically this is the top of the air box that you saw come out of the bike like this. And so this is the intake opening that we want to block. So for now, I'm just gonna take some painter's tape and wrap it up. Alright, I think that's good enough. Let's get the top of the air box back in place and we'll keep plugging along. Take our prop out and set the tank back down. I have to move some ping pong balls. Screws back in, side panels on, seat back in. Now we are ready to fill with gas and put in stabilizer. Once you got it filled, it's time for stabilizer. Pour it in, lock it up, tape up your exhaust, hit your kill switch, and you are done with another bike. Alright, so there's no battery, it's just completely gone in general. And the tank, well, I guess the tank's all set. And what do you know, there's already tape. Probably because I haven't driven this bike since I got it. So, this bike is all set. We're gonna start with getting the battery cover off, which with this guy, he just pulls off. Not very easily though. Dang, okay, he's off. And now we're going to disconnect the battery, starting with the black or the negative right here. So that one is out now. Tuck him down there, put the bolt back in so that you don't lose it or the nut. Now for the red or the positive one. Alright, that one's out. So we'll set that aside for a second so we can get the lead off and out of the way. Quickly put him back before we forget. Now, the tricky thing about this next part is that we've got to get this stupid bracket strap thing off. And it is always, for such a little bike, it is a huge pain. Alright, after much struggling, got that thing open and you simply just pull this little guy out. These 6-volt batteries are pretty darn small. So let's tuck everything back up in here, get the cover, put the cover back in place. There we go, 3 pops and it's good. Now we're gonna fill it up with fuel. Turn off fuel. Put tape on your muffler. Hit your kill switch. And he's done. Roll him back into the lineup. Alright, so after a couple hours of tinkering, we got the batteries out of the bikes. Time to bring them inside and get them on the trickle charger. Here is my makeshift trickle charging station. We got a 12-volt trickle charger here, a 6-volt trickle charger back there. So there you go, that's a basic overview of how to winterize your bike. Some people do more, some people do less, but that's what I do.